3, 2, 1.
This is The Jungle, an up-close, unvarnished look inside leadership and business strategy. We wade into the real-world leader's face and explore what they do to create a path forward, because that's what business is. Wild, exciting.
It's The Jungle.
And we are back in the jungle. Derek, how we doing? It's been a couple months since we decided to do one of these.
It has been. We took a little delay, ending of school, ending of projects. We did a project with Hayworth, ending of a lot of things. And then we went on a trip to Napa for the wine business for Bronconess, to meet with some great alumni out there. And now we're kind of, trailing off into summer and back on the podcast, which is fun. It's fun. I enjoy, interviewing these, our distinguished guests and hearing from them and hearing their perspectives. And I always learn something.
I mean, think about this. 2 months ago, we were still wearing masks and, there was a lot of people unvaccinated and cases. And now it's the world is opening. Doesn't it feel like I wouldn't say we're back to normal, but it feels pretty close right now. We started this podcast back in March of last year and we're in June of 2021. It almost feels like we're back to normal.
We tried a studio for 5 seconds and just, it couldn't work with COVID and we had some scares, right? Going to the studio. So now we're just, and now masks are coming off. I just, breaking news, Doug, today is June 17th. And apparently by 22nd of June, Michigan is lifting all COVID restrictions.
Amazing. The end is near. I mean, in addition to all those exciting developments, we had our first close of our fund, which got a nice little, got a little bit of traction in the news, had a wonderful piece. Thankful for Cranes Detroit for writing a nice piece on the close of our first close for our fund, $21 million. Great opportunity for business professionals in West Michigan or even beyond to take our acquisition course coming up this fall. So that was really excited to see. Exciting to see.
Yep. Yeah. Give back to first great CEO, Michael. He was great. Really good company in Line Drive.
Michael should be the next guest on the podcast.
Michael should be the next guest on the podcast. We should talk with him.
Yeah, we should.
People can hear from him.
Yep.
So just a lot of, as always, exciting life, lots going on. And shout out to all those vaccine makers. We got a couple live in our neighborhood. One plays on my daughter's soccer team, another parent, and he worked on the vaccine here in Portage, Michigan. So shout out to the Pfizer group, but awesome.
Shout out to science and shout out to free enterprise.
Yeah,
right.
Both of those, correct.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
So we, speaking of entrepreneurship, we had
speaking of like empowering entrepreneurs, what we do with our fund and our training and our classes and everything.
Yep. So we had the great honor of speaking with Milind Pant, who is the CEO of Amway. Previously, he was the president of Pizza Hut International at Yum Brands. A really amazing guest. I think maybe the only guest that we've had thus far that, did his homework on us. Super appreciative of that, and a little shout out. That was flattering. Great conversation. Amway is a unique company, a company we everybody knows here in the west side of Michigan. Derek, what were your takeaways from the conversation?
Yeah, it's a very nice guy. He was just a nice, genuine person. So that was one takeaway I had. Really enjoyed the conversation with him. He seems like a really humble individual, big on growth mindset. But my takeaway was he said a couple of things. He said something about lots about community. Building these communities was one of their virtues. But get back to brilliant basics. Pandemic hit, everything was going on, and he just said, let's get back to brilliant basics. And here's some good examples. He's like, okay, let's make sure the supply chain is working first, right? We can help with the complexity, but make sure our products are getting delivered and we're getting the materials and resources we need. And they do a lot. They do their own organic farming. They have a lot of organic products. They're in charge of a lot of that pipeline. So let's make sure the supply chain is working. Let's make sure our delivery system's working, right? And our ordering system. Just make sure that the basics are taken care of to help the people that they serve. That was a great takeaway. Often, and even you and I do this, Doug, we overcomplicate. And there's a lot of complexity in this world. And it's just, brilliant basics. Not just basics, but brilliant basics. So I really like that. I thought that was a fantastic takeaway for leaders, and he had tons. What was your takeaway, Doug?
Well, I thought your takeaway would have been around the energy drink.
And I'm going to order some excess energy, some double X vitamins. I'm getting older. You called me old on the podcast again, so I appreciate that. But the double X seems like I could take some vitamins for some longevity purposes here. Maybe I'll put some of those on order. Who knows?
You called me old again on the podcast.
Yes, like your 15th time.
Doesn't get old. I mean, I just say that to myself because I'm turning 40, next April. So I got to say it as much as I can until that comes.
As long as you never beat me on the golf course. You were close this week, Doug. You were close.
It was
still not close enough.
If I took the triple from pin high on a par 3 and then triple putted off the green. Don't do that.
Shout out to Stoughton Bray. That was a slick little links course.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. All right. So my takeaway was, one of his core principles on the 3 ideas defining of Amway: inclusive entrepreneurship.
Love that term.
Love that term. Haven't heard that term. Love that term. And I think it is challenging a conventional wisdom of entrepreneurship being all these buzz terms and unicorns and $1 billion, valuation IPOs, but this notion of inclusive entrepreneurship, that if anybody is hungry, has the desire, the motivation, the vision, they in 15, 20 minutes can set up a business and find their passion, find some relationships, improve people's lives, make money in the process. So I think that as a philosophy is a terrific thing, whether you're at Amway or you're thinking about in your organization. How do you really truly empower people to go out, be proactive, create opportunities? I just think it's so important for business, especially today.
Yeah. And he, top of mind, he started rattling off some inclusive entrepreneurs from around the world, right?
Around the world,
building communities that they're supporting. And I was stunned that he knew some of that, and he knew he was like following their Instagram channels and everything. And I just thought it was awesome. And we approach entrepreneurship a little differently too. We're trying to empower small business communities and that forgotten lower middle market entrepreneurship. It's not always about IPOs and big venture capital raisings and massive risk. It's about building the backbone of society for these small entrepreneurs. So it was really cool to hear him rattle off some of the people that he was proud of and was watching throughout their system.
So it was a great conversation, and with that, we hope everybody enjoys our conversation with Milind Pant, CEO of Amway.
The Jungle is produced by the Center for Principled Leadership and Business Strategy in Western Michigan University's Hayworth College of Business. Our center supports the leadership and business strategy major, conducts large-scale consulting projects, and trains professionals in acquiring and operating small businesses. To learn more, visit wmich.edu/leadership center.
Milind, welcome to the Jungle. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Doug and Derek. It's a pleasure to be having this conversation.
Cheers. What do you have? What are you drinking here today?
Yes, I've got my favorite drink, which is an excess citrus flavor.
Okay, and Derek wants to know more about this because he's a big fan of any kind of unique drink he can get. What's the benefits on this one?
Well, excess is a whole range of energy drinks, as well as sports nutrition. So, Derek, you, I'm sure, are active fitness and adventure and biking and hiking. You want to have excess around you, and you can get out to www.amway.com and buy it off with a couple of clicks, and it will be in your home before you know it.
And citrus is the flavor you're recommending to me?
Well, citrus is my flavor, but there are a dozen different flavors in this range, and it's one of our fastest growing brands within Amway. Really, driven by youthful values and energy.
Youthful might be a stretch for Derek, but
young and hot.
Yes.
Young and hot, Derek. Young and hot, Doug.
I need that excess to keep me young, I'm told. So,
well, this we're gonna have to check that out. And every day Derek brings in, he's consuming one of these different drinks. So we're gonna get it a case and check it out this fall. Really appreciate you taking time to join us today. I thought we'd start off, we always love to have our guests talk a little bit about their organizations, and then we'll get into the leadership and strategy portion of it. But, Amway is such a unique company. And I think some of our listeners would really benefit from hearing a little bit about how you describe Amway and its unique business model. So maybe we'll kind of start there. How would you talk about Amway? Folks maybe have heard the name, but not know how the business operates and what it does.
It's a proud West Michigan Ada based company, a global company. It's in 100 markets across the world. 1 million entrepreneurs who build their own business independently. The story started 60 years back. It's a story of two friends, Rich and Jay, who were pioneers. They were entrepreneurs at heart. And in addition to be entrepreneurs at heart, they wanted to help people get on their feet and help other people live better, healthier lives. And that's how Amway came about. It essentially came about with this friendship between the two of them, their pioneering spirit and their huge heart. So what is it all about, as you said, Doug? At its core, Amway is a confluence of three ideas. Those three ideas are inclusive entrepreneurship. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. It doesn't require capital. It doesn't require a professional qualification. It doesn't require alumni networks. One can start off with its own journey, whatever be their goal. The second, at its core, Amway is a social idea. It's an idea about relationships, about trust, about the human connection. And the third idea, and I said it's a confluence of three ideas, is Amway at its core is about holistic health and wellness. And all these three, Rich and Jay got together, built it out of Ada, Michigan. And today, 75%, over 75% of our revenues and 75% of our entrepreneurs who are called Amway business owners are between Tokyo. If we start from the east, between Tokyo, and we start moving west, 75% of our revenues and entrepreneurs are between Tokyo and Mumbai. So it's a highly global international company, and proudly calling West Michigan and Ada our home.
That is terrific. Now, I thought we were gonna end with some portions on entrepreneurship, but I want to start there now.
Okay, go for it.
So entrepreneur is so central because these are independent business owners. I love this idea of inclusive entrepreneurship, where this is open to anyone who has the drive, the ambition, to the vision, to kind of get involved with this. Why do you think what makes that idea so central and so important to Amway? And how do you see that as being you hear about this idea of entrepreneurship in bigger companies, here and there. What makes it really unique and special at Amway?
Right. Doug, the word entrepreneur, and by the way, both of you are unleashing entrepreneurs in West Michigan, and congratulations on your recent fundraising. Entrepreneurship is usually, at least in mainstream media, is associated with unicorns and blitzscaling and these, so to say, sophisticated concepts. But any society, any economy is based on the success of the opportunity being available to mainstream. And that is what Amway is about. It's about people who are micro entrepreneurs. It's about the 23-year-old in some part of the world be it here in Grand Rapids or in Miami or Dallas, or be it in Tokyo, Seoul, Shanghai, Bangkok, Moscow, Buenos Aires. She has a sparkle in her eyes. She wants to learn new skills. She wants to be part of even a bigger friend circle. She wants to follow a passion, and she wants to make some money. And Amway provides that opportunity. It provides the coaching and the mentoring through upline leaders. It provides the incentive plan. It's like an entrepreneurship in a box for anyone who wishes to be on that journey.
Okay, so let's little segue there then, Doug, and let's talk about your second one, which is a social idea in relationships. We just came through a year, and we're still in the large parts of this world still in this pandemic crisis. How has that impacted your both Amway the company, and then what's that been like for your independent business owners over the last year to struggle in that entrepreneurship opportunity, but with that backdrop?
Derek, as you said, the pandemic has been tough. It's been tough on everyone. It's been tough on us as individuals, as families, as our colleagues in Amway Corporate, as our business owners, entrepreneurs across the world, society in general. And while we are fortunate in America to be safe and to be vaccinated, large parts of the world continue to hurt. As we speak, and as you know very well, 2021 is perhaps going to be as tough a year for many countries across the world as 2020 was. But here's the bright spot. This is a bright spot, Derek, in general. I mean, if you look at all the data that's coming out of America, in the last 12 months had been the golden age of new businesses being registered and opened by entrepreneurs in America. The facts are there. The same thing happened with Amway entrepreneurs. They pivoted. Corporate and companies would go through, meetings and strategy discussions and PowerPoint decks. The entrepreneurs just pivoted. So what did they do? They realized, of course, that in-person social connections are going to be a challenge. So they pivoted to social connections using the social platform, Instagram in most parts of the world, WeChat in China, Line in Taiwan, Thailand, and Japan, KakaoTalk in Korea, WhatsApp. And they did it, of course, using Zoom and other tools that were available. So the entrepreneurial spirit, the pioneering spirit adapts faster. And so they did across the world. Our business has been resilient, and our entrepreneurs have continued to learn new ways of being successful and helping others around them being successful.
How would you take this idea? I mean, I love this idea of each entrepreneur is pivoting and learning, and you've got, I would imagine, lots of learnings now of how to adapt to this new world. And I think a lot of organizations are thinking about, you've got a lot of independent folks making decisions. How do you take that and aggregate those learnings and then share out those learnings with everybody else? How do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm not sure if we have all the answers yet. But what we're really doing is we are focusing on entrepreneurs we call pioneering leaders. These are folks, and I don't know if you're on Instagram. I wasn't on Instagram 2.5 years back. I thought I was too old for it. But my team convinced me to say, hey, Milind, you need to be on a growth mindset yourself, so go give it a shot. But there are these entrepreneurs. There's Angelika Shatulina in Moscow. There's Pramila in Mumbai. There's Makiko-san in Kyoto. There's Paradhi in Bangkok. There's Claudia in Bogota. These are the entrepreneurial leaders who are showing us the way, Doug, as you said. They're showing us how to build communities around their authentic passion. And what is their authentic passion? Angelika's authentic passion is beauty, but she combines beauty and wellness together. Makiko-san's in Kyoto's authentic passion is cooking, and she's got easy Japanese recipes. Pramila in Mumbai is about healthy eating. She's a mom, she's a businesswoman. She cooks for the family, and she shares, healthy eating with her community, and so on and so forth. All of them, some of them are fitness. There's Danilo in a small town in Brazil, who's a fitness enthusiast. So these entrepreneurs and their sort of say pioneering way of being successful is what we are now playbooking, and we are building the platforms and the partnerships for everyone to be able to scale. So we've now got, for example, on partnerships, we've got partnerships now with WeChat in China. We've got partnerships with KakaoTalk in Korea, so that our ABOs can leverage those social platforms. We've got product innovation that is on our overdrive. In the US, we just launched a new range called N by Neutralite, which solves for issues like sleep and stress and energy. So we are looking at various ways of capturing this entrepreneurial sort of pioneering ways of doing business in this new fast-changing world, and then playbooking it and doing partnerships to scale it. But still work in progress, Doug.
So the changing world you talk about, let's touch a little bit on that. What you guys are you have an interesting model that's different than many organizations. We've gone through the pandemic, and to your point, which is a great reminder, is that this continues and there's still struggles. The United States is vaccinations are everywhere, but what are the things that you see about your industry? You guys do a lot of work in wellness and health products. What do you see as how the pandemic might has influenced that going forward, if at all?
Doug, like just stepping back, the pandemic is essentially accelerated trends that were bubbling even earlier. I mean, good, bad, and the ugly, everything, right? But specifically to your question, Doug, on for example, on wellness, there is always being sort of say a reality of an emerging societal need for wellness. It's been coming up in different ways, right? In some cases, it comes up as fitness and weight loss. Then there are people who are into mindfulness, but it's all been happening. And I guess almost everyone starts on 1st of January with a New Year resolution, but when it gets to about middle of Feb, 6 weeks later, not many are continuing with it. But what this pandemic has done, Doug, on wellness is refocus everyone's attention on innate health and innate immunity, long-term health and long-term immunity. The way we capture it in the case of Amway, and Amway is more than half our portfolio is Neutralite, which has been into wellness for now 85 years. I mean, Neutralite was doing organic farming in California before it was mainstream. It was mainstream to talk farm to table on food or anything else. So what is the Neutralite philosophy? The Neutralite philosophy or the Neutralite mantra is a combination of 7 things, which is where the society is moving to. But we've now put it together in a holistic manner, Doug, learning from the pandemic. What are those 7? The first is to eat a balanced, plan-forward meal. Sounds obvious, but that's the first one. The second is regular daily exercise, or let's just say regular, almost daily exercise, even if it's 20 minutes a day. The third is long, sound sleep. Long and sound. I need my 7 to 8 hours sleep every day. If I don't get it, I'm not very effective in either as in my role or with my family.
I'm a big fan of that one. Count me in for long sleep. Yes, absolutely.
Doug wants to be the person that he knows that sleeps the longest. It's his goal in life.
It comes naturally to me. I'm really good at sleeping. So
you're in a good place. You're in a good place, Doug. You're blessed if you have that naturally. The fourth is to practice mindfulness. The fifth is to have loving, compassionate relationships and to nurture it. And the sixth is to be connected with nature. Now, all these six, everyone kind of knows it intellectually, emotionally, but it's very difficult for the habits to stick, which is where it gets to the seventh mantra, is to be part of a community of shared passion, a part of a community of yoga, biking, adventure, fitness, cooking, whatever it is. People are finding those communities. I mean, Peloton is one such community. It's got a different business model, but one such community. In the case of Amway, it is the Amway business owner or the entrepreneur who's following a passion, and we are helping her convert her passion into profits and income and provide these holistic wellness solutions to her family, to her friends, to her community, online, offline. It really doesn't matter.
Does golf count as one of those communities? Derek wants to raise his hand for does golf count? I hope so.
It's exercise. If you walk, it's exercise.
Yeah, that's right. Don't take the cart.
Yeah.
So let's maybe talk about you personally, Milind. What are some critical leadership lessons that you might want to share about yourself that you've learned the last 18 months or through this pandemic? What has bubbled up for you as key things that most leaders should probably could latch onto or learn from you personally?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Derek, I would start with just saying for all of us, let's start with self-care. Because, whatever role we play in our professional life or in our personal life, let's start with self-care. That's my first and a big important lesson. I inculcated some habits of my own. I actually pivoted to plant forward diet. Before I joined Amway, I was in Yum Brands, which is Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut. So, I moved from there to a plant forward diet with the Nutrilite philosophy. I did start exercising more regularly, even through the pandemic, whatever was the stress at work or at home. And then I take 10 minutes every afternoon just to, do a shut eye and, do meditation. It just rests my mind, calms my mind, and gets me ready for the rest of the afternoon or evening, because most of our business and colleagues are in Asia. So we have these evening or night calls. So start with self-care, Derek, would be my first big learning. And it did come naturally, right? It's only by summer or fall of last year that I realized I should hit here in the head, because this is going to be a long drawn affair. The second one is, take care of others in whatever role one is in. Help them in first and foremost be safe, right? And then be well. And that was my second learning. And my third learning was, at least in the first 4 weeks of the pandemic, the first 3 months of the pandemic, is just get back to brilliant basics. Just in the organization, just focus on the brilliant basics. What did that mean for us? We had to make sure our supply chain was functioning. Brilliant basics. We had to make sure that our technology platforms and online ordering was functioning and reliable. Brilliant basics. We had to make sure that our people were safe and well, and had the flexibility in terms of whatever was right for them and their families. Again, brilliant basics. So self-care, care for others, and just execute the brilliant basics is the learning from the pandemic, and doing those is something I believe we will continue, and I will personally continue post the pandemic.
So when you think about habits, like very tactical habits, it sounds like, diet has changed, meditation. Are there other ways that your work, you talked about kind of the personal side, are there ways that your work has changed, either where you work, when you work, how you work, technology used, that you'd want to share?
Well, I'm speaking to you just now from my home. This is my home. That's something I bought 30 years back from streets in one of the far-fetched provinces in India. So we've been very flexible. I've been very flexible. This morning I was at work in the world headquarters in Ada. The afternoon lunch I had with my family. My son's come over and he lives in Denver, so he's over from college. And afternoon I'm having from home. So we are just being flexible, and I'm being flexible, and that's been one of the biggest learnings that I have, and one that we want to inculcate in Amway going forward.
So that's a big debate right now. A lot of companies are we going to come back? Are we not? But we talk about self-care and some of the things you mentioned, exercise. The more flexible workforce seems to be accelerating at keeping some of these habits, or at least having an advantage. Does as the leader at Amway, do you plan to, it sounds like flexibility going forward for all the individuals? Is that, and the employees in the workforce?
Yeah, that's the intention. The intention is actually consistent with Amway's history. The intention is to be able to design, and we haven't fully figured that out, but the intention is to design it on a couple of principles. The first principle is we are here to serve our ABOs and our entrepreneurs, right? In the case of world headquarters, we are here to serve our market teams, our managing directors of different markets across the world and their teams. So we got to make sure in whichever we design it, we are serving them effectively. So that's the first principle. The second principle is Derek, what you mentioned. We want to have flexibility for every individual and for different teams to have flexibility. And the third is we want to forge social capital and collaboration. And the three of these, being able to serve our entrepreneurs and ABOs and the markets for world headquarters, to be able to have the flexibility and to be able to forge social capital and collaboration, at times can conflict with each other. And that's the balance that we need to evolve. And I think as we get into fall, we'll have a better chance, a better idea of how to do it than we have it in June.
So I have one more. This might be a tough question, and then we'll wrap up with rapid fire. But
Sure.
And I think, Derek, we might have to make this one a mainstay now of the podcast. Maybe before we go rapid fire, you tell me if you like it. So Milind, I'd be curious. What do you think that most people think is true or right about leadership or business that you actually think is wrong? What conventional wisdom that do you think actually is misguided in your experience that we all might think is true, but you think is actually false?
I think most people, including, frankly, in my case, in my early years of my career, believe that to have the smarts and the confidence and to be the person with, in some sense, the highest perceived IQ is a really important piece of being successful. But what one learns, or what I have learned, and I continue to learn out of experience and mistakes, is leadership at its core is about leading from the heart. And it's as much about being able to be lead with love and humility, and be careful. And again, everyone gets into that trap. I get into that trap, especially in times of stress. But careful about not falling into pride or fear. And the ability to be able to lead from the heart, the ability to remain on a journey where one's, sort of say, ambition is to be better today than one was yesterday and better tomorrow than one is today. What Carol Dweck, rightly captures it as mindset, and what in Amway we call founders growth mindset, because that's what Rich and Jay, epitomized. I think those aspects are ones that I didn't fully understand till much later in my professional career, and much later after too many mistakes that I had made.
Good
That's
question,
good.
Doug. Great
Yeah,
answer, Milind. Great answer.
That's
That's a new one for our podcast. I like it.
Okay.
That's great. No, that's wonderful. All right. So we're about ready to wrap up here. We've got some rapid fire questions, kind of one word answers. Are you ready to go?
Sure.
All right.
One word. Got to keep it to one word.
All right.
Maybe two. Maybe two. All right. Your favorite leader?
Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi.
Courage or compassion?
So, could you repeat that again?
Courage or compassion?
Both. Compassionate courage.
Speed or accuracy?
Speed.
Great ideas or great execution?
Again, both. But if I had to choose, great execution.
A word to describe your leadership style?
Passionate, a combination of passion and purpose.
Night owl or early bird?
Oh, early bird. I'm in bed by 9:30, 10.
See, he's a great sleeper. Yeah, he probably
me too.
sleeps really well. Yeah.
9:30.
Derek doesn't even make it till 9:30.
I'm up at 5. 9:30 is way late for me.
Yeah. I get these texts at like 4 a.m. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Okay. Favorite Amway product?
Oh, my favorite Amway product is Double X.
You share with our listeners what that is.
Oh, it's a multivitamin that's a combination of the best of nature. And if it is one thing that you may want to have for your long-term health, I would urge you to start with Double X.
Okay. You're going to enter a dangerous jungle. You got a difficult task in front of you. What Amway product are you bringing with you?
Oh, I'll take this excess energy drink. I'll need all the energy to deal with the jungle.
There you go. Perfect. And then to close out, if you had to pick an animal that represented your leadership, what would be your animal?
I don't know about the animal that represents my leadership, but the animal who has unconditional love for me is my dog, Tyra. And if I was to come back from my international travels, wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning with jet lag, make my cup of chai, the only person who shows me love and care is Tyra.
Okay, so expand that a little bit. What kind of breed is Tyra? How old is Tyra?
Tyra is a golden lab. She came into my life, our life as a family when we were living in Bangkok. We moved from Delhi to Bangkok, and my older son said, "Dad, I don't want to move." We said, "Oh, let's just move. We'll get you a puppy." And then he reminded ourselves. So she came to us in Bangkok. She moved with us from Bangkok to Shanghai, where we lived for a couple of years, then from Shanghai to Dallas, and now she's with us in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Beautiful.
Good little breed, mixed breed there. Yeah, great dogs.
Yeah.
Well, Milind Pant, CEO of Amway, thanks so much for joining us on The Jungle today.
Derek and Doug, it's been fun speaking to both of you. Thanks for everything you do and what you especially do in terms of unleashing entrepreneurship in West Michigan. All the best.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Milind.